Good afternoon and welcome to Remixing the News. My name's Ben, and I want to talk about the psychology and stress. I'm a retired psychotherapist, and stress is something that is very important. And the reason I've titled it as I have is essentially it's kind of accepted in the psychological terms that the essence of human life is suffering and the overcoming of suffering. But I would say that's a very interesting thing to say, but it doesn't really have as much meaning unless you break it down into what suffering is. And I believe at the core of the suffering of human beings is our ability to handle and manage stress. Now, I will say this, knowing full well that I am guilty of forgetting it all the time, and everyone will be. But stress is not mandatory, it is optional. It is a reaction that you have in your mind. And when you consider that your entire life is lived in your mind, the only thing empirically you can prove to be true is actually your own existence of your consciousness. Everything else is debatable. Now, I'm not suggesting to debate things that are 99.99999% likely to be true, but it's essentially every human brain is different. So everyone on the planet has a different life experience given all of the same stimulus, because the brain will work it out through its filters, which are unique to the human being, of which there are 3 primary and each have 12 subcategories. So there's every 15 million pieces of information come into your brain per person per second through the subconscious mind, and only 7 through the conscious mind. So think about that. That's quite a significant thing. Now, there's a number of times when I come to that realization, every month, every week, maybe every day, it really is difficult, because when you look back at the way you've responded to the stressful situation, you'll find that the response that you give to the stressful situation either makes it more stressful or less stressful. It doesn't say the same, because the external stimulus is inevitable, but the internal reaction is not inevitable and can be trained and changed. So the first thing you have to accept is the principle that stress is optional. Potentially stressful situations are not, but the internal reaction to it of being stressed is very much optional. It might not seem that way, and there will be many times in your life you can't apply any type of psychology like this to something unbearable. I'm not offering any kind of quick fixes for anything, but you can manage how your body is likely to respond to stress. So if you imagine, your mind as a castle, it will come under siege on a regular basis. So you've got to make sure that that castle is siege-proof to the extent. Let's take a medieval example. The best castle ever built could hold out for 7 years with its entire population inside. For a siege, now that's extraordinarily expensive for a medieval country to run a siege for 7 years. England did it. Romans did it. I don't know any other civilization ever held down a siege for that length of time, because it takes money and resources. So if you look at your brain, you can't hold down the siege the whole time. You can't. Stress will get in. It's not possible to say the way. But you can most of the time. And the things that you can practice to really build that wall up, build that castle, are so easy and basic that we forget about them. Here's a few tips. These just simple psychological tips that I used to give to my clients, and you just make them part of you. If you make them part of your day, then you have a really strong defense against stressful things coming your way. Doesn't mean it'll hold up to everything, but it's going to make your life better. So the first category is things that actually bring pleasure and joy into the human mix up in the brain of chemicals that release then that feeling which we experience in our conscious mind. But so much work is already being done, so we need to make sure that the chemical alignment is optimal. So it goes in this order. So from the lowest benefit to the highest benefit, you've got music. So humming, whistling, then singing, and then like real, like heartfelt, deep singing, which actually any human being can do. If you try and sing from your stomach and measure your larynx, you'll find you can improve your voice. Doesn't mean you'll be a star, but you can improve your voice if you think you can't sing at all. But also listening to music, and often listening to music that brings back a sense of nostalgia or a particularly good memory is a good thing to do on a daily basis. Also, I mean, there are great songs that just do it, like Feeling Good by Michael Bublé. Everyone feels good after listening. Happy by Pharrell. I paid that to every single client I ever saw. They had to come in and I would press play. They would sit down in this chair I'm sitting in now, which is a very nice therapy chair. It cost me a lot of money. And they would sit down, they'd have to listen to Happy by Pharrell before we talk. And the reason was because at some point, every single one of them started either grinning or laughing. Because there are some songs you can't argue with, like Sitting on the Dock of the Bay is one for me. There are loads, you'll have your own in mind as I'm speaking, I'm sure. So that's one aspect of things. And the other is just to take, I mean, it depends how driven you are, but I would say I'm a very driven person. I tend to work about 14 hours a day. And stress can get on top of me if I don't take mini breaks. So, as an example, if I'm waiting for something to load or do something, my natural reaction is to do something productive while it's doing that. But actually, if I check that on a daily basis and go, actually, let's just sort of sit back and relax and think. And that kind of approach, if you have the ability to do it, you can apply it in you don't have to be self-employed. You can do it in an employment situation, because that mini break can be, I'm just going to do some breathing, and obviously breathing exercises are very useful to do every day. 10 minutes of 2 different types every day will make a massive difference to your calmness and your way of life. And that's just, you can do any breathing exercise. I have a particular one, which, as far as I know, I invented. I had certainly never heard of it, which is a deep breath in, and then you exhale slowly, and you wait until your body, you let the oxygen seep from your body rather than blow it out, and you wait until there is no oxygen, and your lungs will give you a slight reminder you need oxygen, and then you breathe again. The reason that's good is because things like stress, anger, hate, all those uptime states, but including happiness, the uptime and downtime states are mixed, like sadness is downtime, relaxed is also downtime. So happy is uptime, anger is uptime, stress is uptime. So, having the uptime ones need more oxygen to burn, which is why you periodically, not deprive, but test your oxygen limits. As soon as you feel the mild discomfort to breathe in again, you don't test that. But it's not about holding your breath. You breathe in again. You wait until you get that. When we go about our day, we don't wait. We run from sort of 20% to 80%, and we're constantly breathing. But actually, deliberately focusing on your breathing has always worked. And it's a vital skill. So if you combine things like that and you treat yourself kindly as much as you can, then when stress comes, you will find yourself more robust and more able to deal with it, and therefore be able to get on better in life, in your personal life, financial life, your business life, and your family life, and your relationship with yourself, which will then reflect in the relationship with everyone else. So I'll leave that there. It's always a pleasure, never a chore. I really do mean this stuff. It's helped me out of a jam so many times, but I also forget it, and I need to keep reminding myself. So don't strive for perfection, just improve. So it's been a pleasure. You be lucky. That'll be good. And if you have some success, please leave a comment.